Dwight Myers, better known as Heavy D, is one of the most influential rappers of the 80s and 90s.
You've kind of become a role model to large men.
That's good. I want to be a role model to every kind of woman, though.
His music stood out during the rise of the New Jack Swing era, mainly because his rhymes were positive, lighthearted, and free of profanity. As the leader of Heavy D and the Boys, the group signed on with Uptown Records and released 5 studio albums. They gained mainstream fame for performing the theme song for In Living Color. And for tracks like Nuttin' But Love, We Got Our Own Thing, and Now That We Found Love. Heavy D also worked with several iconic artists, including Michael and Janet Jackson. According to The Source magazine, Heavy D was the first rapper to run a record label when he was hired as the president of Uptown Records. He was instrumental in the careers of several Uptown employees and entertainers, including Diddy, Jodeci, and Soul For Real. His success as an executive led to him becoming Senior Vice President of Universal Music. After releasing music as a solo artist, Heavy D explored other avenues of life, including the world of fatherhood, when in February 2000, he and his girlfriend, celebrity chef ANTONIA LOFASO, welcomed a baby girl named Zaya. The Jamaican-born rapper also lost 135 pounds in an effort to land acting gigs, and his hard work paid off. He appeared in projects such as The Tracy Morgan Show, Boston Public, and Law & Order SVU. In 2011, Heavy D released his 9th studio album, and sadly, it would be his last. Here's a look into Heavy D's final days and an RRG exclusive bombshell about a family member who was accused of taking advantage of the late rapper's estate. Before we get started, don't forget to grab something to eat at rrgsnacks.com, our online concession stand that has an assortment of delicious treats like buffalo wing popcorn, lemon pepper beef jerky, and bacon jerky. Okay, now let's jump into today's video. For most of the early 2000s, Heavy D had absolutely no interest in releasing new songs. He told Consciousness magazine he fell out of love with making music and had outgrown the industry. He had a bunch of songs sitting in a vault, but he wasn't satisfied with the quality. So he decided he was officially done. He received offers to work on several projects, but his older brother FLOYD Myers, who also worked as Heavy D's manager, told MTV that if the project wasn't a positive business venture, Heavy D would turn it down, no matter how much money was involved. During this period, Heavy D was more content with spending his time with his daughter. But something changed for him in 2008. He felt a strong urge to make music again, but he wanted to make sure he did it the right way. Heavy D formed his own label called Stride Entertainment and felt as if he was finally in complete control of his career. He told Billboard.com, "Now I'm captain of my own ship." He released a reggae album in December 2008 called Vibes. The album earned him his 4th Grammy nomination. In September 2011, he returned with his 9th studio album entitled Love Opus. In October of that same year, he was invited to perform at the Michael Jackson tribute concert in Wales. Upon returning to the States, he performed a medley of his greatest hits at the BET Hip Hop Awards. Sadly, on November 8, 2011, just 1 month after his BET performance, police officers were dispatched to Heavy D's condominium building in Beverly Hills and found him lying on a walkway. He was transported to a local hospital where he later passed away. He was only 44 years old. It was concluded that Heavy D passed away from a blood clot in his lungs, which most likely formed during his extended plane ride traveling from the UK following his performance at the Michael Jackson concert. It was also reported that he was recovering from pneumonia prior to his passing and suffered from deep vein thrombosis and heart disease. His loved ones and fans paid their final respects in his hometown of Mount Vernon, New York. His daughter, who was just 11 years old at the time, gave a touching speech, telling the audience that her father was still here, not in the flesh, but in the spirit. Visitors were allowed to get their last glimpse of the legendary artist, while his relatives made an effort to thank each fan individually for their love and support. His brother Floyd told MTV their family was still in shock because Heavy D was in great shape at the time of his passing. In a subsequent interview with BET, Floyd said losing his brother was like being in a bad dream. In May 2013, a year and a half after Heavy D passed away, his brother Floyd started the process of handling his affairs. Floyd filed documents with the LA County Superior Court, stating Heavy D had drafted a will many years ago. Floyd said the original will couldn't be found, but he was in possession of a fully executed copy of the will that he wanted the court to honor. The copy of the will in Floyd's possession was dated June 23, 1999, and it made no mention of Heavy D's daughter, obviously since she wasn't born until 2000. The will also didn't leave anything to Heavy D's parents or his other family members. Everything was left to Floyd, including the Beverly Hills condo, which he and Heavy D co-owned. The will included Heavy D's signature and was also notarized. This all might sound fishy to most people, but none of Heavy D's family members, including his daughter's mother, contested the copy of the will. In fact, they were fine with Floyd jumping into action to be the court-approved executor of Heavy D's estate. Floyd told TMZ the goal was for him to be named executor so he could sell the Beverly Hills condo that he and Heavy co-owned right away. His mom told the media outlet their family was happy with Floyd being in charge because they knew he would protect Heavy D's fortune. The family had already packed up all of Heavy D's belongings and placed them in a storage for his daughter to collect when she got a bit older. They also collectively agreed that all of the late entertainer's assets would go to his daughter when she became of age, including Heavy D's Social Security, pension, and future music royalties. According to court documents, Floyd presented the court with a list of outstanding debts that the estate would need to pay. Many of the expenses were related to the Beverly Hills condo, and according to Antonia, the court rejected Floyd's request for the estate to cover the bills. However, he was still appointed as the estate's executor and was also entitled to receive a commission every time the estate distributed any cash payments. To start, Floyd sold the Beverly Hills condo in June 2013 for a little over $1.7 million. According to court documents obtained by RRG, after paying off the remaining balance of the mortgage, other fees, and realtor commissions, Floyd and Heavy D's estate received payments of $140,000 each. His daughter received $17,000, and other funds were dispersed to Floyd's attorneys. Floyd also received an additional $20,000 for being the executor of the estate. Floyd took care of Heavy D's debts, which, according to TMZ, included a $43,967 State of California tax lien. With that paid off, Floyd simply had to manage any royalty payments Heavy D's estate received. But after a few years, Antonia, the mother of Heavy D's daughter, grew suspicious that Floyd was mishandling the funds. She demanded a full breakdown of all the money going in and being taken out of the estate, as well as bank statements. Floyd submitted his documentation, and just as Antonia had suspected, more than $100,000 had been depleted from the estate. Even the $140,000 the estate received from the sale of Heavy D's Beverly Hills condo was missing. Floyd reportedly used the money to pay household expenses prior to putting the condo on the market, including payments made to purchase a refrigerator, a microwave, washer and dryer, and other appliances. The estate was only responsible for 50% of the condo, but Floyd was using all of the estate's funds to make the payments. On top of that, Antonia contested that Floyd was paying bills that the court had already rejected prior to him being appointed as the executor. During a March 2020 court proceeding, Antonia's lawyer stated they weren't exactly sure how much money was left in the estate because Floyd, quote, had his hand in the cookie jar and was dipping into the funds without permission. It was going to take them a while to track down all the funds and to determine how much money was taken. But in the meantime, Floyd was ordered to turn over all the documents and estate assets, and he was swiftly terminated as the executor in 2020. Antonia was appointed the new executor. She'll be managing the assets in the best interest of their daughter to ensure that she receives 100% of Heavy D's royalty payments for the foreseeable future. If you enjoyed this video, let us know down below. And thanks for watching RRG.